It sounds impossible, but the president who saved America and the president who tried to tear it apart were born in the same state, just 100 miles and 8 months apart. You may know that Kentucky makes bourbon, but you probably don't know that right now there are nearly 4 barrels of bourbon aging in Kentucky warehouses for every single man, woman, and child living in the state. And if I told you there's a town in Kentucky that has never once elected a human being as a mayor, you'd probably think I was making that up, but every word of it is true. Kentucky is one of those places that sounds like fiction the closer you look at it. Beneath its rolling bluegrass hills, there are caves longer than the distance from New York to Pittsburgh. Inside a vault no single person can open, there's $750 billion in gold. And in a kindergarten classroom in Louisville, 2 sisters accidentally wrote the most famous song in the English language. Today, you'll discover 23 insane facts about Kentucky that will completely change how you see the Bluegrass State. And stick around, because near the end, we'll uncover what's really hidden inside Fort Knox, and why the final fact on this list connects 2 men born in log cabins who would go on to lead opposite sides of a war that nearly destroyed America. Let's get into it. Fact 23. Kentucky isn't even a state. We're starting with something most Americans get wrong. Kentucky is not technically a state. It's a Commonwealth, one of only 4 in the US, alongside Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. The distinction carries 0 legal weight, but here's the twist. Those other 3 were all original colonies. Kentucky was carved out of Virginia and admitted to the Union on June 1, 1792, as the 15th state and the very first state west of the Appalachian Mountains. Kentucky was America's first step into the frontier. Fact 22. The road that built a nation. And the man who blazed the trail into that frontier? Daniel Boone. In 1775, Boone led a crew of axemen to carve the Wilderness Road through the Cumberland Gap, a roughly 200-mile trail hacked through dense forest and mountain passes. That single trail funneled over 200,000 settlers into Kentucky by the end of the 1700s. It was America's first great gateway west. Fact 21. More water than almost anywhere in America. Here's one that catches people off guard. Kentucky, a landlocked state, has more miles of navigable waterway than any US state except Alaska, about 1,100 commercially navigable miles. And it's the only state bordered on 3 sides by rivers: the Ohio to the north, the Mississippi to the west, and the Big Sandy to the east. Fact 20. The ice cream law and the whale rule. Now let's talk about something a little more fun. Kentucky has some of the strangest laws still technically on the books in the entire country. It is technically illegal in Kentucky to carry an ice cream cone in your back pocket, an old anti-horse theft law designed to prevent luring someone's horse into following you home. Kentucky law also reportedly permits hunting from a moving vehicle, but only if the target is a whale, in a state with 0 ocean access. Before we continue, if you're enjoying these facts, go ahead and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive into this wild side of American geography. Fact 19. The town that elects dogs as mayor. Rabbit Hash, Kentucky has a population of roughly 254. Since 1998, every single mayor has been a dog. The tradition started with a mutt named Goofy, and as of 2024, the office is held by a blue-tick coonhound named Boone, who won with over 14,000 votes. Past candidates have included a dead cat, a donkey, and a robot AI called Ben AI, who lost. Anyone in the world can vote. Each ballot costs $1, and all the money goes to the Rabbit Hash Historical Society. No human has ever held the office. A friend of mine drove through Rabbit Hash on a road trip a few years back and said the dog mayor had more campaign signs than most real politicians. Fact 18. They moved a mountain and rerouted a river. Pikeville, Kentucky was hemmed in by a mountain and devastated by flooding. So, over 14 years, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers moved 18 million cubic yards of earth, cutting a channel 1,300 feet wide and 523 feet deep. A historical marker calls it the largest engineering feat in the U.S. and second in the world only to the Panama Canal. Fact 17. The world's largest baseball bat. Outside the Louisville Slugger Museum stands a 120-foot-tall, 68,000-pound steel replica of Babe Ruth's bat. Inside, the factory produces about 1.8 million bats per year. The Louisville Slugger started in 1884 when a 17-year-old named Bud Hillerich hand-carved a bat for a struggling local player who went out and got 3 hits. Bud's father thought the family's future was in butter churns. The Slugger became the first sports product to use a professional athlete endorsement, signing Honus Wagner in 1905. Fact 16. The only moonbow in the Western Hemisphere. Cumberland Falls, near Corbin, Kentucky, produces the only predictable moonbow in the entire Western Hemisphere. On clear nights around a full moon, the mist creates a lunar rainbow. The only comparable one on Earth happens at Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe. If you time your visit right, you can see a ghostly arc of color glowing in the moonlit mist. Very few places on the planet can offer that. Fact 15. Thomas Edison got fired here. Most people think of Thomas Edison as a New Jersey inventor. But in 1866, a 19-year-old Edison moved to Louisville to work as a telegraph operator for Western Union. He worked the night shift, tinkered during the day, and got fired after spilling acid. But his telegraph work here directly inspired his very first patent, an electric vote recorder, launching a career that would produce 1,093 patents. Fact 14. Every Corvette ever made comes from one Kentucky town. Since 1981, every Chevrolet Corvette has been built at the Bowling Green Assembly Plant. On February 12, 2014, a sinkhole opened beneath the National Corvette Museum and swallowed 8 collector Corvettes into a previously undiscovered cave system. The twist? The disaster increased museum attendance by 67%. The sinkhole became its own exhibit. Fact 13. Cocaine Bear is a true story. In 1985, a drug smuggler and former Kentucky narcotics officer fell to his death when his parachute failed. His cocaine stash landed in a national forest where a 175-pound black bear found and consumed it. The bear died, was taxidermied, nicknamed Pablo Escobar, and is now on display at the Kentucky for Kentucky Fun Mall in Lexington. Fact 12. The Kentucky Hot Brown. In 1926, Chef Fred K. Schmidt at Louisville's Brown Hotel created the Hot Brown, an open-faced turkey sandwich smothered in Mornay sauce, broiled until bubbly, and topped with bacon and tomato. It became so popular that 95% of customers were ordering it almost immediately. The Brown Hotel still serves 400 to 500 per week, spiking to 1,200 during Derby Week. Fact 11. Post-it notes, peanut butter, and a secret hidden in the state song. Kentucky quietly produces things you use every single day. Nearly every Post-it note sold worldwide starts at a 3M plant in Cynthiana, Kentucky. The world's largest peanut butter plant, run by Jif, operates in Lexington. Beer cheese was invented in Winchester in the 1930s or 40s. Bourbon balls were perfected in Frankfurt by Ruth Handley Boone, debuting in 1938. And the state song, My Old Kentucky Home, was originally titled Poor Uncle Tom, Good Night in Stephen Foster's sketchbook, an anti-slavery lament inspired by Uncle Tom's Cabin, a fact lost on most of the 150,000 people who sing it at the Derby every year. Fact 10. The world's largest Toyota plant. The Toyota Georgetown plant is Toyota's largest vehicle manufacturing plant in the world. Over 7.5 million square feet, producing roughly 550,000 vehicles per year. Combined with Ford plants in Louisville and the Corvette plant in Bowling Green, Kentucky ranks as the #1 per capita vehicle producer in the United States. Fact 9. The Screaming Eagles call Kentucky home. Fort Campbell, Kentucky is the headquarters of the 101st Airborne Division, the legendary Screaming Eagles, famous for Normandy and Bastogne. Today, the division operates approximately 281 helicopters and can insert a 4,000-soldier task force 150 kilometers behind enemy lines in a single lift. Fact 8. Colonel Sanders started KFC at 65 on a Social Security check. Harlan David Sanders started serving food at his gas station in North Corbin, Kentucky around 1930. He perfected his 11 herbs and spices by 1940 using a pressure cooker. When a new highway bypassed his restaurant, he lost everything. At age 65, living on a $105 per month Social Security check, he hit the road and started franchising. He sold KFC in 1964 for $2 million. But Sanders so aggressively criticized the chain's declining food quality that KFC actually sued him. And one of his early franchisees, Dave Thomas, went on to found Wendy's. Fact 7. the most dominant basketball program in history. The University of Kentucky Wildcats men's basketball holds the most wins in NCAA Division I history, approximately 2,398, with a winning percentage of .765, both number 1 all time. They've won 8 championships. The 2012 team set a record with 6 players drafted, including Anthony Davis and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist going 1-2, the first time in NBA history that teammates went 1-2 in the draft. My cousin went to UK and says game days in Lexington feel like a whole city shuts down for basketball. In Kentucky, it isn't a sport, it's a religion. Fact 6. The most exciting 2 minutes in sports. The Kentucky Derby, first run in 1875, is the longest continuously held annual sporting event in the United States. It was founded by the grandson of William Clark of Lewis and Clark fame. Secretariat's 1973 record of 1 minute, 59.4 seconds has never been broken. During Derby weekend, Churchill Downs serves over 120,000 mint juleps, requiring 10,000 bottles of bourbon and roughly 475,000 pounds of ice. Fact 5. Famous Kentuckians you didn't know were from Kentucky. Muhammad Ali was born in Louisville in 1942. He got into boxing at age 12 after his bicycle was stolen and a police officer directed him to a boxing gym. His birth name, Cassius Clay, came from a 19th century Kentucky slave owner who became a prominent abolitionist. Ali later rejected it as a slave name, though it was ironically an emancipator's name. Beyond Ali, George Clooney from Lexington, Johnny Depp from Owensboro, Jennifer Lawrence from Louisville, Diane Sawyer from Glasgow, Loretta Lynn from Butcher Hollow, and Jack Harlow from Louisville. Fact 4. 95% of the world's bourbon. Kentucky produces 95% of the world's bourbon supply. As of January 2025, there are 17.1 million barrels aging in Kentucky warehouses versus a population of roughly 4.5 million. Production has surged 566% since 2000. The industry is worth $10.6 billion annually and generates nearly 24,000 jobs. Kentucky is the only place in the world that taxes aging barrels, and the tax-assessed value hit $10 billion in 2025. Fact 3. $750 billion behind a door no one can open alone. Fort Knox holds 147.34 million troy ounces of gold, roughly 56% of all U.S. gold reserves, worth approximately $755 billion. The vault door is 21 inches thick, weighs 20 tons, and operates on a 100-hour time clock. No single person knows the complete combination. Only 3 non-staff visits have ever occurred. FDR in 1943, a congressional delegation in 1974, and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin in 2017. During World War II, the vault safeguarded the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, a copy of the Magna Carta, and the Hungarian crown jewels. Fort Knox isn't just a gold vault, it's been America's ultimate safe room. Fact 2. The world's most famous song was born in a Louisville kindergarten. Happy Birthday to You, the most familiar song in the English language, was written by 2 Louisville sisters, Mildred and Patty Hill, in the early 1890s as a kindergarten greeting song called Good Morning to All. That simple song generated roughly $2 million per year in licensing royalties for decades, until a federal judge declared it public domain in 2015 and Warner Chappell was forced to pay back $14 million. 2 Kentucky kindergarten teachers accidentally wrote the most sung song in human history. Fact 1. The state that birthed both sides of the Civil War. This is the fact that, once you know it, changes the way you see Kentucky forever. Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809, in a log cabin near Hodgenville, Kentucky. Jefferson Davis was born on June 3, 1808, in a log cabin near Fairview, Kentucky. 8 months apart, roughly 100 miles apart. Same state. The Lincoln family moved north. The Davis family moved south. 2 boys from the same patch of Kentucky soil grew up to lead opposite sides of the bloodiest war in American history. Today, only Lincoln's statue remains in the rotunda of Kentucky's capital, because Davis's statue was removed in June 2020 and relocated to the Jefferson Davis State Historic Site in Fairview. I remember reading about this as a kid and thinking it had to be made up. But it's real. No other state in America can claim that. And maybe no other fact captures the impossible, contradictory, endlessly surprising spirit of Kentucky quite like this one. Thanks for spending a few minutes exploring these facts with us. Kentucky and the United States are packed with little-known stories, and we're only scratching the surface. If you enjoyed the video, hit subscribe and drop a like so we can keep bringing you more discoveries like these. Take a look at our other videos too. You might find a few more surprises.